It's another Wednesday. It's another week here in gorgeous Northwest Arkansas. Before there's going to be some storms this weekend. That's Mike Irwin. I'm Evan Kamiko. As always, this is PTN Extra. We thank you every week for tuning in. Mike, we've got a packed show to talk about today. We've got to recap the Tennessee game. We're going to talk and preview the Texas A&M game. We're get into the coaching search, some Eli Drinkwitz comments, some various things that you've heard. That'll be after our first break. Then we'll wrap up with SEC Media Days. And also a shout out to Coach Deifel being named a top 25 softball coach per D1 Baseball of the quarter century. We'll talk about that way later, but just to tease a little bit ahead. Mike, let's wrap up Tennessee. Hogs go to Rocky Top, and they got Rocky topped. Am I allowed to say that? Is that appropriate? But
oh, they didn't get steamrolled.
They almost did. They almost did.
They didn't, though. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
The way they bounced back in the fourth quarter, I think, if it had gone the way it looked like it was going in the third quarter, then I think there would be a lot less optimism. But I think a lot of people liked the way the defense bounced back. Actually, the defense came in and really kept the third quarter from getting out of hand. Mm-hmm. And then Bobby Petrino said, hey, I made a mistake. My play calling was wrong. I should have gone with more passing instead of trying to run too much in the third quarter. And then they were able to come back and outscore Tennessee in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 14 points to end the game for Arkansas. To your point, it was really impressive, the bounce back that they had, because it felt like that game up until the fourth was a microcosm of the whole season, right? It's things that we saw leading up to it. The fumbles were an issue. You couldn't score in the third, but instead of letting it ravel and get away from the Razorbacks, they held it together. They said on the sideline, Mike Washington said post-game, I really appreciated how we came together and said, no, we're okay, we're fine. And they got back into the game, albeit, it was a bit of garbage time. I think that's really fair to say because Tennessee, you're up 17, they put their foot off the gas, right? Like they made some mistakes, but Arkansas capitalized on them. It felt like, to me, watching a typical Chicago Bears game last year where they're getting blown out, you think the game's over, then all of a sudden they come back and they make it close, and then next thing you know, all right, the game is really over, and they just couldn't get that final stop as we saw the last couple of weeks. The last question I'll ask, were you more happy about this loss or the Ole Miss loss? Which one were you less concerned after?
Well, I mean, they really had a chance to beat Ole Miss, but Tennessee may be better than Ole Miss. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that made this acceptable the way it came out was you're on the road, first of all, and you're coming off probably one of the most embarrassing losses in the history of the school. I mean, you just got totally blown out at home by Notre Dame, and your defense was missing in action, and your offense made a lot of mistakes, didn't do anything in the second half. So in that respect, I think this was the way this game turned out had a lot to do with the previous game.
Yeah, and I think there's a point, right? You can almost feel a little bit better about this game. But you'd feel more better again if they got a big win before and knew how to win some of these close games. The Razorbacks now 0-3 this year in one-score games, something to keep an eye on as we kind of move forward. But let's move forward. Let's talk about the next game on the schedule. Texas A&M, right now, man, the Aggies are humming 6-0. They're undefeated in SEC play. They beat Auburn by 6 a couple of weeks ago, crushed Mississippi State 31-9, then beat Florida last week 34-17. What's your early assessment of the Aggies? Not to mention, too, they beat the Notre Dame team that walked into Fayetteville and beat Arkansas 56-13. They won that game. A&M did 41-40 on the road in South Bend. What's your assessment on Mike Elko's team this year?
I think they're the best team Arkansas has played this year. They've got a good balance between offense and defense, but their defense is just flat scary. Arkansas has a problem anyway, trying to move the football sometimes. These guys can stop the running game. They blitz a lot. They'll give Taylon Green all kinds of problems. The offensive line's got a pass block much better, but these guys will confuse you. They don't just do it with a 3 or 4 man rush. They do a lot of things, so they can force, and then they force turnovers.
Yeah.
And these turnovers has killed Arkansas. So Arkansas has to clean up a lot of mistakes, pass blocking mistakes. Taylon Green rolling out to his left and not realizing somebody's right behind him when he's trying to throw. And then you can't have those fumbles where you're moving down the field, you're at the 20-yard line or approaching the red zone, and all of a sudden you have a ball security issue. And this is what I don't understand why they can't correct this. Because what this is, every one of those fumbles, all 3 of them that hurt them, were the result of having the ball in one hand, one arm, tucked like this when you got tackled, so that they're able to swipe down and knock it out. Yes, when you're when you're in open field and you're running and you need speed, you never see anybody hauling down the field holding the ball like this. Nobody does that. You got the ball tucked, you're running like that, both arms are moving. But when you start to get into a crowd, you got to kind of pull it in and wrap it up, get that ball against your chest. And they've got to figure out a way to do that, and they haven't done it yet.
It's killed them week after week after week. We've seen at least a fumble a game, it feels like, for this Razorback team. And what I am most curious about is that, and it's different players that are doing this, right? It's not, there isn't one common denominator player that we could say every time has fumbled the ball. This past weekend, Taylon Green was very, very open with the ball, was running kind of with his hand like this. They were able to swat the ball a couple times. Look, Taylon, he could have lost 3 fumbles. Luckily, it was only 2, but there was a third one that was on the ground, and that was, again, because he's careless with the ball. And we've seen in practice, and Bobby said after, well, I don't think there's anything we necessarily are doing wrong in our practice about working on fumbles, but then why does this issue keep happening? Why every single week, Mike, are we sitting here talking about it? Because, again, to your point, Texas A&M, probably the best team in the SEC right now. Yeah, Ole Miss is ranked higher, but I believe Ole Miss is ranked higher. Depends what poll you look at, but
they're not as
Texas
good.
A&M, yeah, absolutely. And Marcel Reed in that offense is absolutely going to cost you, or they are going to make you pay for those mistakes this weekend.
Well, again, I think it's 2 separate things on the fumbles. With Taylon, it's just he loses focus. And it's like he doesn't remember this is where he's vulnerable. When he's rolling to his left, he apparently does not have good. Some quarterbacks have almost a third eye where they know somebody's right behind them. He doesn't have that. So you got to be aware, and I don't know how you do it because you're having to look at somebody and the same time, do your eyeballs go like this? So I just think he's got to be very careful when he's rolling out. You want to throw it sometimes, but maybe when you roll out, just try to run and see what you can get out of it and stop trying to make a play. Rolling in the other direction is a different thing, so maybe he needs to do more of that.
It's almost like trying to be Superman when you don't have to be. It's the Caleb Williams conundrum of, well, you know Taylon Green can go out and make these fantastic plays. I mean, there was the one third down play where he's 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage and ends up running and getting a first down. He doesn't necessarily need to do that all the time, and I think that's what he has to rein back in a little bit of, hey, you don't have to go out and be Superman every single time you get in trouble. Sometimes of it is you need to see your first read, and you need to throw the ball, and you can't miss these intermediate passes.
Here's what we're not seeing enough of, because Bobby Petrino emphasized it over and over in August camp and in the preseason workouts. What did he talk about? Taylon moving up in the pocket. We almost never see him do it. What are you doing running every time it looks like the pass rush is coming? You got to move up and make the throw. And when you do that, if they sack you, then they sack you. But it's a one yard loss, a 2 yard loss. It's not an 8 yard loss because you peeled around and went 7 yards in the other direction and then got tackled back there, or because you got the ball knocked out of your hand. So that's one issue with him is move up into that pocket. Quit trying to run every time you see there's an issue. The runs to me ought to be more planned runs. The other thing he's doing is sometimes he's not reading when they're going to run the ball. He sticks that ball in, and if you see your running back is going to be, there's 4 guys out here, so if he tries to go this way, he's not going to pull it out and go this way.
Yeah.
You know, because Taylon Green, when he pulls it out, usually gains some pretty good yardage. So there's just some things that they can look at mistake-wise, but I don't know. I don't think they can win this game. I think the best you can do is play like you did last week. Try not to make mistakes. I think Arkansas's defense is getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, they talked about why it was different, and what Larry Worth III said was that when the offense started sputtering in the third quarter against Tennessee, and all of a sudden they're down 3, and then they're down 10, he said it looked like the game was going to get out of control. And he said, our defensive coordinator came up to us on the sidelines and he laid out a plan for the way we were going to make this thing work. And he said the plan worked perfectly. We started getting stops, the offense changed and got better, and that's where they made their comeback. It was just a little too late. So I think defensively in this game, just concentrate on doing what you have been doing. But offensively is where they're going to have an issue.
Yeah.
And this is where I don't think they can win the game. I think I just believe right now what has to happen to this football team, don't try to do too much. And I think Bobby Petrino's got it figured out. I don't think he's sitting there thinking, well, I got to win this game. I think he realizes these two games were going to be tough. There are some winnable games after this. Let's use these two games to get better, and I'm not suggesting give up no chance of winning. You start every game where you think you can win. But don't get too depressed if you have the trouble moving the ball on these guys, because they are flat good defensively. And they do all the things that you don't do well. They force fumbles. You've been fumbling too much. You know, they sack quarterbacks. Your quarterback gets sacked too much. They're too quick to let you get around them. You peel around on them, and they'll just sack you back there.
Yeah.
So they get a lot of thrown for loss plays, a lot of sacks, and unless they have a bad day, I think Arkansas is going to have a hard time winning this game. Try to make it close.
And all I'm asking for this team before we go to break is just give fans a reason to stay. Give them a reason to root for you through the fourth quarter. You haven't really done that. You haven't won a conference game if you're Arkansas in 300 and I believe like 70 days. It's been a really long time since the last conference win for the Razorbacks. So give the fans something to cheer about. Give them something to stay in their seats for all four quarters. But that's going to do it for this first block on PTN Extra. When we come back, we're talking coaching search. James Franklin is out. Dan Mullen may be interested. Who knows what's going on? We'll break that all down in just a second. Stick with us on PTN Extra. Back here on PTN Extra, Evan Kamiko, Mike Irwin hanging out with you. Thanks for watching every week as you always do. Let's talk about the juicy stuff, Mike, that everybody at home wants to know about. It's who's going to be the next head Hog. A lot has happened in college football this week. Obviously, Indiana goes to Oregon. They beat the Ducks. I just wanted to throw that in there. But the bigger thing, Mike, is James Franklin fired at Penn State. He's expected to get his entire $49 million buyout. Also, not to mention as well, is another SEC coach, Billy Napier, on the hot seat. That's what the rumors are saying this week. So what's really interesting to me is the last couple of years, you haven't had too many high-profile job openings. 2025, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State. You've got Arkansas. Now you've got Penn State. My expectation, I believe, you'll have Wisconsin, maybe Auburn. And that's just to name a few that you might have. So there's going to be a lot of openings this year.
You could have LSU, honestly. Yeah. You could have LSU. You could have Auburn. I'm not saying that'll happen, but it's all those things are possible. So here's the issue for the people behind the scenes that are trying to figure out who to hire. The longer they wait, the more options these people that they like have. Now, James Franklin pops into and I've been told they reached out to him. But here's what he's going to say to them and anybody else that's making overtures right now. Let's wait and see what happens here. He has options. I mean, he may not have been what Penn State wanted, but this guy has won in two different places, and he's won consistently, and he can recruit. And let's face it, he's a black head coach. At a lot of schools, hiring a black head coach, especially at a school where you haven't had one, that's a big deal. So he's a desirable commodity. Yeah. All right, so he's got options. He's not going to just jump in right off the bat and go, yeah, I'll take that job. You know, so he might be an option here, but he might not be. I continue to say what I said last week, which is these people behind the scenes had four guys they were looking at. Obviously, one of them is Petrino, and I'm still told that would be the easiest thing. If he does enough where they can say they can sell this to the fans, that's the easy way to do it because it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You don't go through a lot of the stuff you go through when you try to go in there and start throwing big bucks at people and trying to convince somebody that you got the NIL money or whatever.
Try to avoid the bidding war.
Right. So let's talk about Lashley. Again, this has not been confirmed by me, but people are telling me this. I mean, I'm not in his family. I don't feel comfortable saying yes. This is for sure. But what's out there right now is in a very mature way, he's told Arkansas, look, I would love to be the head coach of the Razorbacks someday. I'd love to come back to my alma mater. I'm not ready for that. I'm just getting started as a head coach. You think I want to go into the SEC and try to rebuild that program right now? I might be over my head. So I'm going to stay where I am. I've got a manageable conference that I'm in. I've got good support where I am. I've got good NIL money where I am and any other money they want. And my wife likes living in Dallas. My kids like it here. We're happy here. Right. That doesn't mean we won't come here at some point in the future, but not right now. That's supposedly what's out there with him. All right? What about Summerlin, John Summerlin at Tulane? Yeah. The latest word on him, and you look it up, he's a Kentucky alum. What job is rumored to be open? And we didn't mention it. Kentucky. That job might be open up. So if it does, I'm told he's going there. So he may be off the table too. So that's 2 of the 4 they were looking at that may be off the table very soon. So what do you got left? You got Petrino. Again, still a good option for them.
Yeah.
And then you got Dan Mullen. And what I'm told is Mullen is suddenly looking a lot better. Now, why is he looking a lot better? What's one of the biggest issues under Sam Pittman? One possession games that you lose. Let's look at UNLV this year. They're 6-0.
Yeah.
5 of the 6 games have been one possession games, and he won every one of them. And the best comparison, and I got to believe that some of the people that are making this decision watch this game. Air Force decided right there at the end, and UNLV did what Arkansas has not done in 3 games. It was close. They went down. They didn't fumble. They didn't do anything stupid. They ran the clock out, and they won the game. They did all of those things Arkansas tried to do and couldn't do. So you start getting the idea that this guy knows how to manage games. Then when you look at things that he did when he was at Mississippi State, when he was at Florida, he went to bowl games, and he won bowl games. Here's the best, maybe the best thing about him when you throw all of that into the mix. He's the one guy besides Petrino that's not making any demands. There's no, you got to get a different AD. This AD doesn't look like he can raise money. He didn't say, he didn't care. He isn't saying you got to give me a bunch of NIL money.
Yeah.
He's not worried about that. He said, you give me that job, I'll figure out how to win. So a guy that's willing to take the job, who's winning now, who's won in the past, never really had a place where he didn't win, and don't think it's any big deal that he's winning at Vegas. I mean, he still has to go there and win, and he's doing it with the talent they have. So what makes him, I think, more and more appealing every time you look at this thing is, this guy he wants the job bad, and he's good at it. He's good at what he does, and he wins games, and he goes to bowls, and he doesn't just do it in one place. But a lot of these guys that you're looking at, even if Lashley is not out of the mix, where's he won? SMU last year. That's what everybody's basing that on. Mullen's got a lot more than last year in his resume.
Yeah.
So again. I'm not predicting that he's the coach. I don't think anybody knows right now. Well, this is a fluid situation. It's going to continue to be fluid as things change. If Lashley has turned him down right now, something might cause him to change his mind. I don't know. The whole thing with Franklin could work out in their favor. There's just so many things that could change. But that's the way it looks right now. To me, right now, it's looking like maybe it's Mullen, but also even Mullen might get another offer.
Yeah.
Because he's going to look better and better to these other schools that have openings. What if Auburn is interested? Why wouldn't he just as soon be at Auburn than he is here? Okay. Now what do you do if you lose him? Maybe, and I'm speculating, but maybe, we hear all this stuff about, well, Petrino's got to win 4 games. They got to go to a bowl game, or he's got to at least win 3. Maybe all he has to do is win a game or 2, but not do anything. They don't get embarrassed from here on out. They don't do anything weird. What I have to believe they're looking at is that he looks like he's really in control. There are no press conferences where he looks weird. He answers questions. He has no trouble whatsoever owning up to a mistake, which he admitted. I came out of the dressing room, and it probably cost him the game.
Yeah.
They were having so much success running the ball in the first half, he kept trying to do it. They made a halftime adjustment, and he said, I was stubborn. I kept trying to do it. He said, I should have thrown the ball more, especially those short passes he went to, quick opening passes.
Right.
So, again, these are the things that I think make him attractive. And it may turn out he doesn't have to do all these things people say he has to do. He just has to be a guy in control, look like he knows what he's doing, keep games close, maybe win a game or 2, and then they're going, yeah, this looks pretty good.
And to your point about like Dan Mullen and everything we've heard from Hunter Yurachek about 3 weeks ago was they want to find someone with experience. They want to find someone relatively young. Well, Dan Mullen, we were looking up earlier, is what, 53?
Right.
Versus Bobby Petrino, who's 64.
A lot of people think he's older.
I thought he was older. When we were sitting talking, I thought he was closer to 60, but he's closer to 50. So it feels like Mullen checks every box that Arkansas wants. The question is going to be, can you really maybe make a push for James Franklin? Is that possible? Franklin also on the younger side. But the biggest thing is, to your point, what other schools open up and what is the competition going to look like? Because if Dan Mullen's the number one name with the most experience, as he probably is right now, and as much as Hog fans might not want to hear it, do you think Arkansas can outbid for Dan Mullen if Penn State's in there bidding for Dan Mullen?
I mean,
because
if
you're
options.
Penn State, right, like you're trying to go and get Kurt Cignetti from Indiana. That's what everybody is saying. But if Sick doesn't leave, then where does that leave you? Like, you really think you're going to pull a young guy, or you want to pull the best option, and that might be Dan Mullen, to most fans' surprise.
Exactly. So again, all of this is fluid. That's where it stands right now.
We have no idea what we're really talking about. We're just out here having some fun.
Well, we do know options. We can talk about options.
Of course we know options, but we don't know anything finite. That's Mike Irwin. I'm Evan Kamiko. One more break on PTN Extra, and then we're talking some Hog hoops. That's next. Stick around. One final segment here on PTN Extra. Mike Irwin, Evan Kamiko. As we wrap up shop on this PTN Extra, we've talked everything we needed to talk about football, about the coaching search. A lot going on this weekend around Hog sports. You've got cross country with pre-nationals. You've also got men's and women's basketball. They were in Birmingham yesterday. You had Talia Jones, Wyvette Mayberry, Kelsey Music representing the women, TB, DJ Wagner, and Coach Gal representing the men. For either side, man or woman, whatever you want to talk about, what caught your eye and really caught your ear about what Cal and Coach Music had to say about their respective teams?
I think he said what I would expect him to say. He didn't talk about how great they are. He talked about we're not ready right now, and I think he should do that. But people that saw the scrimmage that were there say they look pretty good. There's no comparison between where they are right now, depth-wise, and got an inside game. You don't just have an inside. You had your main inside guy at this time last year was hurt, and he stayed hurt most of November and December. So now they've got options inside. They can shoot. They've got guards. They've got point guards. They don't just have one point guard. So I think they're going to be. They look good to me now. What's hilarious, SEC media days. Oh man, never assume that the SEC media cannot look any stupider than they look. Arkansas was picked fifth.
I was going to say, is this what we're talking about, Arkansas? Because I agree. Fifth. That's ridiculous.
Come on, what are you doing there? Well, seriously, I mean, do you pay any attention at all? I don't get this. I don't get it at all. But yet I do get it because they do that consistently, and Razorback fans should be happy that they're picked fifth because they're always wrong. The SEC media is always wrong when they do that stuff. So there's that. And I think, again, the people that were there thought there were some really good signs. One of the things Cal says, he's really putting the heat on Trevin Brazile because he didn't come on till late last year, and he's saying, you can't do that this year. Put yourself out front right off the bat. And put yourself, and I like the way he talks because he's telling them they need to be working toward getting in the NBA. And he would have been gone, let's face it, Brazile would have been gone if there were any indication he was a first rounder.
Yeah.
So you got to put yourself in the position not just as a first rounder, let's approach lottery pick. And you can do that, but you're going to have to do it starting from the very beginning. Get your name up there and then play consistently all year long.
Yeah, it can't start again at the SEC tournament like it did last year. TB's a massive part on this team, arguably maybe even the centerpiece of this entire team. DJ Wagner's the glue that brings everyone together as the guard, but TB probably has the most upside of anybody, maybe in the entire country. We've been saying it for the last couple of years, but I do think it's funny that Arkansas was picked fifth. John Rothstein tweeted out that they return the most minutes, I believe, in the SEC when you have Knox, TB, Billy Richmond, as well as DJ Wagner back. So it's a really exciting time for the men. And even Cal said, look, like we were a bit of a debacle. I think he was downplaying a little bit how the team looked in Hot Springs this past weekend.
Well, again, and also you can add that they may have the strongest inside game in the country. And you go from being weak inside to having depth in there. I mean, Pringle is he looks better every time you watch him. And then Ewan, he's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how much defense he's going to play, but there are some signs that he can play defense. We know he's a scorer. And so when you throw Trevin Brazile into the mix, you're going to have big guys. You may have 2, 3 of them on the floor at one time. You might have a point guard, a shooter, and 3 big guys back there if that's what it takes.
There's a lineup potential of like DJ Wagner, Carter Knox at the 2, maybe TB at the 3, Ewan and Pringle at the 4 and 5, and that could be one of the biggest teams in the SEC this entire year. It's going to be a really fun season of basketball coming up, Mike.
Yeah, and he's got some freshmen that are good. At least 3 of them. I think all 3 of them are good.
Yeah.
So he likes freshmen. I think he's going to get what he wants out of those 3 freshmen. I can't wait to watch these guys start playing.
I think the floor for this team, and it's safe to say, is obviously the Sweet 16. They've got to get to where they were last year.
Yeah.
The ceiling is winning a national title and bringing home the first national title since 1994. So it's going to be fun. We'll have a lot of basketball coming up over the next couple of weeks on PTN Extra. The Hogs open up their season against Cincinnati in a couple weeks. It's just an exhibition, so it's not for real. The real thing, November 3rd against Southern. For Mike Irwin, I'm Evan Kamiko. That's going to do it for this week's PTN Extra. We'll see you back here next Wednesday.